everybody. I'm Joe Appello. Welcome to All Sports Talk. Filling in today for George is Andy Prince. Andy, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Good to be here.
George is down in Florida working with the Golf Channel. He's on to bigger, better things for this week, and he's done that before, so he'll be back next week, hopefully in 2 weeks. All right, Andy, over the weekend, obviously, we had the big NFL games. The Titans and the Pats had that big win. What did you think of that game?
Well, I watched that game like everyone else, and about midway through the second quarter, I think there's no way the Patriots can win this game.
Absolutely.
Jacksonville completely dominated them. They were pushing them all over the field. Yep. Offensive line was dominating. The defensive line was getting to Brady. And you figured there was one play. If they score one play, if they get close to the end of halftime, Jacksonville may be in trouble. And wouldn't you know it, right before the end of the first half, they scored that touchdown with the two goofy penalties. Yep. And at that point, I felt the Patriots were going to win. I actually thought they were going to win by a lot at that point, but give Jacksonville credit, they hung in there. But I was amazed how well Jacksonville came out and played in that first half.
The thing that, if you would have, before the game, if you would have said to somebody, well, you know what? Blake Bortles was going to have 3 more yards passing than Tom Brady and have no picks or no turnovers, you would have said Jacksonville wins easily. And I think the Jags played a great clean game. But the bottom line is that you go against Belichick and Brady, and they just don't make mistakes. They have everything prepared, and they'll beat you if you give them a chance.
What was amazing was Bortles was, I'm not going to say perfect in the first half, but pretty much. He didn't make any mistakes. They ran the ball. He was like 15 of his first 17.
That's right.
And if you noticed in the second half when it was 17-10, the Patriots got the ball right around midfield and got stopped, like on the 43.
Yep.
Most times Bill Belichick is going for that fourth down.
Right.
I think at that point, Belichick said to himself, I don't think they're going to be able to move the ball this anymore. And he punted. Right. Now, if you remember, Jacksonville went down and did kick another field goal. Mm-hmm. The next time they got the ball was the same exact situation. Yep. They were stopped around the 45. Yep. And instead of going for it on fourth down, he punted it again. Right. And the game completely turned. And then the Patriots took over in better field position, went down and scored, and then they scored again, which was just incredible. He's the best coach ever.
The thing is that they make those adjustments at halftime and like nobody else. And the thing that impressed me, too, was the way Amendola stepped up and made some unbelievable catches. He had a big punt return, and on the punt return, you notice he was waving everyone off, but he didn't wait for a fair catch, and I think that kind of fooled Jacksonville. And he caught the ball and got 20 yards on that, which was huge. That was an amazing play by him, and then he had a catch at the back of the end zone, which was a great grab. He kept
Did you think that was a catch when it first happened?
I thought so.
I was amazed.
You never know these days, but yeah.
The most amazing thing about the Patriots is not that Amendola is not a good player or Cooks isn't a good player, but they're not the top receivers, and they make plays when the game is on the line. And what we haven't even mentioned was, other than Brady, who's not human, not normal, not a normal player, but their second best player, Gronkowski, didn't play. He gets hurt at the very end of the first half. And you figure there's no way the Patriots are going to be able to do enough to win this game, and they did.
And if you're the Jags, you go, you know what, I'll take a 15-yard penalty to get their second best player out of the game.
Exactly.
Every day, all day long.
So you watched Jacksonville play. Do you think they're aggressive or dirty?
I think one of the things about them is kind of deceptive with them. I did some research on this, is that who they played. First they played, Tennessee twice. They played the Colts twice, and they played, who's the other team? Tampa Bay in that division?
No, it's Indy, Houston, Tennessee.
Right, and so they pile up stats against those 3 teams that are relatively average offensively. So I think that was part of it. So I think their stats were a little bit blown up on that.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Good.
They lost to this team. 24-23. The New York Jets were not a good football team this year. True. Jets outplayed Jacksonville. And I was watching Jacksonville dominate the Patriots. I'm thinking, the Jets beat this team, and this team is beating the Patriots.
But you know what it is? It's so much about matchups.
Right.
And, you know, what team does something well and vice versa. And I think that's what people don't understand about the NFL. It's like, just because one team blows out somebody one week doesn't mean anything really the next week. It depends on how it's played in the matchups. Because in the NFL, you could look terrible one week, but look unbelievable the next week in the NFL.
Well, you watched the Patriots this season. those first 5 games, they played Kansas City at home. Kansas City blew them off the field.
Yeah.
They played Houston at home, an awful offensive team.
Right.
Houston scored 1,000,000 points on them.
Right.
They played Carolina at home.
Right.
Carolina scored 1,000,000 points. The
Right.
Patriots had the worst defense in the league.
Right.
Do you know that after like the 5th week of the season, the Patriots led the league in defense?
That's right.
Can you
Great
imagine?
point.
That's what's amazing. That Brady is Brady. He's just going to do what he's going to do.
Yep.
But that their defense was so bad and they were able to turn it around. That's incredible.
They said it was as simple as guys being out of position or guys not in the right place at certain times, which is amazing. It wasn't really a switch of personnel.
Right, there was no injuries. The
No.
guys that got hurt that came back.
No, I didn't have Hightower all year, which is huge.
But he didn't play at the beginning and he didn't play then.
Right, you're right.
So was Matt Patricia awesome the last 10, 12 games, or
Right.
awful the first 5
Good
games?
point.
Because that's it was just amazing how good they played.
Even what was it? One of the corners said the same thing. So everybody was on the same page. So I think that was huge. They fixed that.
They clearly got on the right page. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And like you said, it depends on. The beginning of the season. How about Jags blow out Pittsburgh? Game 2 or 3 there when Ben had 5 picks.
Right.
And it's the same thing. Sometimes these teams look past these other teams. I think Pittsburgh looked past the Jags.
No question. But although
ago.
Jacksonville played pretty much in the first half against the Patriots the way they did almost the entire game against Pittsburgh.
Right.
And it was amazing because Pittsburgh's offense is unbelievable. They have those 3 great players.
Yeah.
I think this year in the 2 games against Jacksonville, Roethlisberger had something like 9 interceptions,
Right.
and against all the other teams in the league, he had like 4 interceptions.
And think about
Unbelievable.
it. Pittsburgh puts up 42 on the Jaguars, and they're supposed to have the top defense in the NFL. So
Right.
You can score 42 against anybody. What does that tell you?
Right.
So I didn't think their defense was very, very good, no question
Right.
about it. But not like the purple people eaters or anything like that. They weren't anything like that.
I just think they're very chatty for a team that had only won
Right.
2 playoff games. And
Yeah.
they're probably going to be better next year because they're all going to be a year older.
You ever see the Pats chat? No, they
Right.
don't say a word.
Right.
And Belichick is as glib as he is. He'll say, "We're on to Jacksonville. We're on to here." But that's the culture that they breed. That they don't give their opponent any bulletin board material. They don't get anyone to get them going. They just go about their business and do what they got to do. Even like way back when they beat Seattle, they beat Seattle in the Super Bowl, and Malcolm Butler had that pick. They had practiced that. Before that, and who does that? So I mean, that was mean that they. And Malcolm Butler said they had seen it in practice, and he said they recognized it. He read it right away. And I mean, obviously, Seattle shouldn't have been throwing the ball there. He should have gave it to Marshawn Lynch. But Butler saw it, read it, picked it off, and won the Super Bowl for them.
Well, what's amazing is if you are not a Patriot fan,
Yeah.
like I root for the Jets, you root for the Giants.
Right.
Most people either root for the Patriots or hate the Patriots.
Right.
And this year there was a lot of they get every call, like the fumble against the Jets, the fumble
Right.
against Pittsburgh. Whatever one someone wants to say,
Right.
those rules they're bad rules, but they were interpreted
Right.
correctly.
Right.
And the Patriots take advantage, and they just don't make mistakes. It's like you said.
Right.
I mean, what did Brady throw this year? 4 interceptions. That's
Right.
a ridiculous number.
Right.
It's unbelievable.
In the NFL, there are guys open all the time. Now, it's just a matter of, as a quarterback, the better ones can go through their reads and go through progressions. 1, 2, 3, 4. The poor ones, or the bottom echelon of those quarterbacks, can't do that. And they have throwing a pick or making a wrong decision or throwing over here when this guy's wide open. And they do it all the time. Whereas Brady, obviously, as good as he doesn't make those mistakes.
Right.
All the time. And it's just, and that's, somebody said to me the other day, said, oh, they got Belichick. I said, yeah, but they also have Brady.
Right.
I mean, the combination of those two are just, you probably never see it again. In the
What
NFL.
do you
You'll never
think
see it again.
if Brady had never played with Belichick, or vice versa? Who do you think would have had more success on their own?
But that's a great question. I would say Belichick. I mean, because even like
The 1 year that Brady didn't play, they won 11 games.
yeah,
with Matt Castle.
Matt Castle,
Right,
there's
which is
a
crazy.
system quarterback, all that stuff. But so
Right.
I don't know. I think their team is so well coached and so well organized and attention to detail that your quarterback obviously is huge. But I mean, you can, like remember what last year when Brady was suspended for 4
Right.
games, when he was 3-1 in those games.
Right.
And it was funny because they were saying how when Brady had the cut hand, how they had Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
He could have stepped in there, and, But
It's so funny because apparently now it's coming out that he may have had 12 stitches in that hand.
yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty significant
Yeah.
injury
Yeah.
for to have 12 stitches in his
Yeah.
hand, and it's just incredible. I'm amazed in that game. If you think about it, They didn't even try to run the ball. They had about 17 yards of rushing the entire first half, third quarter. They get the lead. Jacksonville, they need to, the Patriots get the ball back after Jacksonville gets stopped. And all Jacksonville has to do is stop them. They're going to punt it back. There won't be very much time. And they ran the ball 3 times and got a first down after having not running the ball almost for an entire game.
Right.
It's just incredible.
And how about the 2 gadget plays they had, which is, they never usually do that kind of stuff, but that was amazing.
And it was funny because the first one, while it didn't work because the receiver got the ball stripped from him.
Lewis fumbled.
And then he did it right back again. It's just.
And that was another controversial call that Jags were saying this week, where Deion Lewis, Miles Jack took the ball away from him as he was coming down, and I guess they blew the whistle. Whereas some Jags were saying maybe play should have been able to keep on going and he would have scored a touchdown. Who knows?
I thought you were going to say the issue was that maybe Lewis got the ball stripped but was able to get the ball back, and the Patriots should have kept the ball.
Actually a takeaway, but he rolled over and they blew it dead. But I don't know if he was touched or not, but that's another story. Now the other game was the Eagles and Vikings. I thought was that was an amazing game too, because everyone's counting Eagles out, the no respect thing, which is fine. But Nick Foles is a decent quarterback. He's no Carson Wentz, but he's the
best of all the backups that play.
Yeah.
I was shocked because I thought Minnesota was going to win.
A lot of people did.
Minnesota gets the opening kickoff.
Right down the field.
Right down the field. And I said to my son, I said, we can turn this off. This game is over. Philadelphia is not going to score.
Right.
Philadelphia punts it. Minnesota they throw the pick 6.
Yeah, that was
completely
huge.
turned.
The
game completely turned.
Pick 6 was huge.
And the thing that was amazing about that game, different than the Jacksonville game, was if you remember, I think it was 17-7. Philadelphia had gotten the lead. They got the ball back within less than a minute, and he threw the ball, went right down the field. They kicked another field goal. Jacksonville, at the end of the first half, was ahead 14-10. They had 55 seconds and 2 timeouts.
And take a knee.
Jacksonville took a knee.
Right.
I don't know what they should have done, but that was very curious.
Right.
It showed the way Philadelphia was viewing the game.
Yep.
We're ahead. We think we can end this game.
Right.
And Jacksonville said, we don't want to take any chances.
It's like New England, always pushing the envelope. They're always trying to score, always trying to get built. But other teams would take a series off or give up.
Did you see that stat? The Patriots played 18 games this year, and they scored 12 times in the last minute of the first half.
And a lot of times they had the ball start the second half.
But think about that. That's an incredible statistic for them to be able to do that.
Plus, you know what they did too? A lot of times in the Jacksonville game, they would go with that hurry up, where they gassed that defensive line. The defensive line just can't catch up there. They can't substitute, so they're going bing bing down the field, and Brady's able to do that. He's one of the few guys that can do that. They'll do it well.
He is unbelievable.
I think it's interesting about with the Vikings. They've got 3 quarterbacks on side. All 3 of those guys are on side.
Who would, if you were the general manager, who would you?
That's a good question. You can go. You go right down the line. You figure Sam Bradford is probably the best quarterback of 3, but he's always hurt.
Right.
You've got Case Keenum, who had a good year, decent quarterback, and then you've got Bridgewater, who's the youngest of the 3 and probably the biggest upside if he stays healthy. But he also hasn't really done it that much yet. So that's a tough call. I mean, they can't keep all 3, obviously. They probably have to get rid of maybe even 2 of them.
Right. I would think they'd probably just keep one, whoever
keep
they
one
decide.
of them, yeah. And the other thing I had heard earlier, but it's changed now, that Shermer was going to go to Arizona and take Case Keenum with him, but that did pan out. Shermer's on the Giants, and then Arizona hired Steve Wilkes,
the defensive coordinator for
Right.
Carolina. Which it's interesting. I'm sure we'll get to this later with the coaches. But what you forget about with Minnesota, not only are they on their 3rd quarterback of whatever time, their number 1 running back, who looked like he was going to be an absolute stud, Dalvin Cook, got hurt and didn't play most of the year. He's going to come back. That defense is. If it's not the best in the NFC, it's certainly in the top 2 or 3.
Absolutely.
But whatever they do at quarterback, if they do the right thing, they should be pretty good next year.
Yeah. You know what's interesting too about all this, the coaching carousel in the NFL is amazing. With all these OCs and DCs, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, going everywhere. It's like musical chairs. They all go different places. Some are stepping in head coaching positions. Some are just going to other teams. Todd Haley gets fired by Pittsburgh, goes to Cleveland to be their OC.
Now, when you talk about a coordinator, so Pat Shermer, who was the offensive coordinator for the Vikings, is the Giant head coach. I know you're a Giant fan. Are you happy they hired him? Are you happy they hired an offensive coordinator to be their coach? Because I have a real opinion on this.
I think Shermer was their third choice,
Right.
And I just think he was what was left, and Patricia goes to the Lions and McDaniel's going to go to the Colts. So he was the last man standing and the best of what they had left, I think. The other thing there is interesting is looks like they're going to hire Jack Del Rio as a defensive coordinator for the Giants.
Oh, really? That'd be great. He's
now,
a really good
what do they
coach.
do with Spagnuolo? They just let him go? I mean, find him another position. I don't know what else he can do, but that was interesting, I thought. So rumor has it Del Rio's coming over as their defense coordinator. Now, if I was the Giants, and I'm a big Giant fan, and I know Odell Beckham is fantastic, I would get rid of him. I would clean that locker room out.
What's his situation? They still control his rights next year, so they could trade him.
I think he's up for the big contract.
Okay, but I'm saying so they still have his rights, so they do. I think
so. I think they can. I think he's at one more year, and then he's eligible for the $200 million, whatever the heck it is.
Well, because the reason I asked about Shermer and about coordinators is, you watch college football, you watch pro football, and all the rules are geared towards offense.
Right.
They're geared. You can't touch the receivers. Anytime you touch them, it's a penalty. You really can't touch the quarterback.
Right.
And the teams that have the dynamic offenses do really well. Right. But yet, team after team, these guys go out and hire a defensive coordinator to be their head coach.
Head coach, yeah.
It's interesting. Like the Giants, I don't know if this Shermer's going to be good or bad. I know he coached Cleveland a couple of years ago. Nobody wins in Cleveland. You can't. Belichick failed in Cleveland, so everyone fails in Cleveland. But it seems to me, you're just better off if you have a guy that's good in offense. You're going to make the team. Like the Rams. Look how good the Rams were this year.
Well, here's an interesting
compared to
stat.
last year.
I read that 41 out of the last 51 Super Bowl winners had a higher ranked defense than their opponent, whatever that means.
So a better defense?
Better defense. Always won 45, almost 80% of the time. And I think the last 5 Super Bowls, the underdog has won outright. 4 out of the last 5, if I'm not mistaken. So defenses generally win championships, as they say. But like you said, with the way the game's going with the rules, offensively, that's tough. You get.
It's funny. You look at, like Belichick was a defensive coordinator. Tomlin was a defensive coordinator. Pete Carroll was a defensive guy.
Now, how much do you think, though? I mean, just because you're offensive coordinator or defense coordinator, how does that translate into being a head coach? That's the question that we're basically talking about.
Think about with the Patriots. Now, they've had a terrific defense for most of this year. But for this time that they've won, this is what, their 10th Super Bowl. I think this is Belichick's and Brady's 8th. It's because of their offense that they've been great. Brian Billick, remember he was the coach of the Ravens when they won the Super Bowl. Well, he was the offensive coordinator for Minnesota when they had the world's greatest offense, Randy Moss. They scored the league record. They won a Super Bowl with probably the worst offense that ever won a Super Bowl. So sometimes they just make adjustments. You realize that, if I don't have the best quarterback, and he didn't, he had Trent Dilfer, who was a good quarterback, but I have a good defense coached by Marvin Lewis, then I can win the Super Bowl. So,
and to show you the Final Four for the NFL, you had Keenum, Nick Foles, and Bortles, and then Brady. I mean, you had 3 quarterbacks that you would not pick if you had to for those.
But probably, like you said, Minnesota has a good defense. Philadelphia has a good defense. Patriots had a real good defense, and Jacksonville probably had the best defense. So, well, I think you should have offense because that apparently it's not. I guess you want to have defense. So that's what I would think.
The thing is with all, and we'll probably see next year, obviously, how the Patriots handle, Patricia leaving, McDaniel leaving, and I think their linebackers coach is leaving as well.
So are all 3 of them going to get head? Like Patricia's going to go to
Detroit. McDaniel's going to go to Colts to be with Andrew Luck. So obviously, he must think that he knows the value of having a franchise quarterback, and that's why he went there as opposed to the Giants, I think. And then Brian Flores, I think he's a linebacker coach. He's going somewhere. Not to be a head coach, but to be.
Because Arizona was the only other job open.
Yeah, Steve Wilkes took that. Well, Mike Vrabel took the Tennessee job.
Yes, I'm not sure there's even any more.
I don't think there is. No. Well, McDaniel hasn't officially taken the coach.
Because that would be 3. They would lose 3 coaches, which would be the first time in NFL history that they lost 3 coaches. What's funny? The Patriots have had unbelievable success, but all the guys that were assistant coaches, coordinators that left that left Belichick, none of them have
never
had
done
any
much.
success.
Yeah, you're right.
McDaniels was kind of a flame out in Denver.
Yep.
Romeo Crennel was a flame out
Yep.
in Cleveland.
Yep.
Charlie Weiss had a little success at Notre Dame, but then
Right.
did very poorly.
Right.
It's almost like
I think it goes back to the point we made a few minutes ago, whereas I think the head coach has to be a CEO. He has to just coordinate all these things. But obviously, you're as good as your quarterback. You have to have a franchise quarterback. Otherwise, you're not going to win anything. And then you got to have your defense coordinator, offense coordinator. But then obviously, you control the whole shebang. So I mean, special teams coaches and all these different things. I think it's thing about Belichick is that I think he has a hand in everything, but not one hand in one situation.
Right.
Where some of the coaches might overdo the defense, but not overlook the offense type thing, or vice versa. So I think it's a fine line how you do it. Just because you're a good offense coordinator doesn't mean you're going to be a head coach. Or if you're an average offense coordinator, maybe you'll be a great coach.
So you touched on this. Do you think the Patriots are ruining trading Garoppolo? Not because Brady hurt his hand and may not have played in the game last week.
I don't think so, because I don't think you can sit around and wait around for Brady to retire and get hurt,
Right.
and keep this guy off in the distance. So the thing is, and Garoppolo's, he's in his prime right now, and
Right.
he wants to play, no matter what.
And they got a second-round pick, which was really a first-round pick, because it's going to be one of the first picks.
Right.
Because it's Cleveland, I think Cleveland's pick.
Do you realize that Garoppolo is a free agent right now too?
Right, but
So I think
if San Francisco doesn't sign him, I'd be pretty
Right,
surprised.
but I mean, he actually can go wherever he wants.
Wouldn't it be amazing if the arrangement with the Patriots was, listen, you trade and I'll come back and sign with you?
Or what if
That would be aming.
What if
They don't have to franchise
What
him
if
they
he
get him back.
goes to the Colts with McDaniels?
That would be amazing.
That would be something. If Andrew Luck is not,
Because
who knows what his status
Denver
is.
would be very happy, because I'm sure they would sign Andrew Luck or something.
Well, how many guys? You got a new guy. You got a new guy in Denver with Anthony Lynn. Was it Anthony Lynn, or is he in San Francisco?
He's in the Chargers.
Chargers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Vance Joseph is.
yeah, those are defensive guys. I
Right.
mean,
It looks like Denver,
Tough
if
call.
they got a quarterback, they could be good again.
Right.
And it's
Right.
just ironic that John Elway, probably one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks,
Right.
has not had very good luck.
What do you
getting
think?
quarterbacks.
What do you think if you had now you have a top pick at the NFL draft? Who would you take as the number 1 quarterback? Who do you like?
It's amazing, because I saw all 3 of the top quarterbacks: Darnold from USC, Rosen from UCLA, and Allen from Wyoming play. And boy, I wouldn't take any of them. I know you go, how can that be? Allen was, I wouldn't say awful. He had a very bad offensive line. He had not a great season. He played unbelievably
6'5",
well.
230. He's got the physical.
And that's why
stats.
he's on some of the draft boards. He's number
He
1.
played in Wyoming.
But he played an unbelievable game against Western Michigan. And I'm not going to disparage the MAC conference,
Right.
but playing one game
Right.
in a bowl game after you have not played for a month doesn't suddenly make me think that you're a
Sam
franchise
Darnold's a
quarterback.
turnover machine, a guy. He
It's
fumbled or
incredible.
picks all the time.
What I don't understand is you watch Baker Mayfield play.
He'd be my
Physically, he's shorter. He's
Yes.
not. But to me, that guy wins.
Yeah,
Did you
he's
see
my pick.
what Deshaun Watson did this year for Houston? He wasn't a very high pick.
Yep.
Houston took him. They traded up to take him like
Yep.
19th or something.
Yep.
Before he got hurt, he was going to be a star.
6'1", 6'4". What the heck's the difference?
Right.
I don't understand.
Drew Brees is probably the
Brees,
top 3 quarterback, and he's
Russell
short.
Wilson, some of these guys.
Exactly.
I mean,
But
it
my
looks
guess
good.
is that Cleveland has to take one of these guys. They hit a home run last year with their number 1 pick. They got Myles Garrett. The guy's great.
Right.
They got Josh Gordon back. They got a receiver.
Right.
Do you take Saquon Barkley first, even though he might be the best player? But can you take a running back first anymore?
That's the thing, yeah.
I think they're going to take a quarterback, and the old UConn guy, John Dorsey, is now their general manager.
Okay.
And he came out and said, I do not believe in playing rookie quarterbacks.
Right.
Didn't mean he said he wouldn't draft one.
Right.
So if he drafts a quarterback,
Right.
he'll probably go sign Case Keenum,
Right.
Josh McCown from someone to come back and play for a year, because he won't play a rookie quarterback.
If you're the Giants, if I'm the Giants, I might trade my number 2 pick and get maybe 2 or 3 more picks, whatever they may be, and get more players. Because I don't. Like you said,
Where did you stand this year when they benched Manning for the one?
Well, that was a funny thing, because they asked Manning if he wanted to start. He said no.
Right.
So I mean, so everyone's thinking like Giants, did him a big disservice. That's not the case because he said no. I want to play or don't play, and so his streak was ended because of him. He said I don't want to play. So I have no problem with what they did, but probably how they did it. They could have taken it a little bit different. But the thing that frustrated me about the Giants is Davis Webb. What are you doing with him?
Right.
I mean, you know what Geno Smith can do.
Right.
You obviously
Exactly.
know anybody. But why not play Davis Webb? Is he that bad, or hasn't progressed that much, so you can't even throw him on the field for even in the second half of some of these blowouts? What the heck's the difference? So what are you doing him? If you're going to draft a quarterback, that means you must not want Davis Webb or get rid of him.
Right.
There's no value to you if you're going to draft a quarterback at 2, because you already have, in theory, your future quarterback in place in Davis Webb. Now, I think Eli's good for a year. Eli has 2 years left on his contract.
Right.
Let him finish it up. I mean, it's not Eli's fault. He had no offensive line. He had no running back. All
The
the
worst
were hurt.
receivers in the league, right?
Yeah, I mean, what do you expect the guy to do? You could have put Joe Montana back there. It wouldn't have made a difference, in my opinion.
The problem is when you're in New York,
Right.
you're not allowed to rebuild.
Right.
You have to always be getting better.
Right.
And I think the Giants will take a quarterback, even though maybe the prudent thing is to get Minkah Fitzpatrick, the safety from the defensive back from Alabama. But they really should take a quarterback because that's the way you're going to get your fan base excited.
Right.
And just because Manning has a contract, this isn't like other sports. You can just cut guys.
But see,
that's
do you bring in a quarterback like, say you take, I would say Baker Mayfield, but if there's you take one of these other guys, is he going to be better than Manning as a rookie quarterback? Of course not. I don't think. So he's a year, the quarterback you draft's a year or two away anyway, so I would let Manning ride it out, and then you have a new quarterback next year, and the year after, these are like the only 3 quarterbacks left on the face of the earth. The guy from Hornibrook from Wisconsin was good. I mean, he was a big left-handed thrower. He looks good. You got Jake Fromm coming out. You got all these different guys that'll be available in 2 years.
The guy from Florida State that that got hurt this year that barely played.
I mean,
you don't know when Jameis Winston came out. Nobody had heard who he was. Then he was ridiculous for the entire year. There's so many things that you can do.
What do you think of Lamar Jackson? Do you think he's going to be a quarterback at the next level?
I'd like to think that he would be, but you have to trust that these draft people don't think that he will.
Right.
If you remember, Charlie Ward won the Heisman Trophy at Florida State.
Right.
He didn't even get drafted.
Right.
I'm not talking first round. He didn't get drafted in 7 rounds.
He was small, though, too.
He was, but he still won the Heisman Trophy, and he played at Florida State. He didn't play at some dinky school.
Right.
So I have to trust that that's the case, but boy, you watch him play, and you got to figure there's got to be some team that would be able to let him do the things that he does, even as a running back.
RG3, number 2.
Right.
They said I heard one guy said they were going to make him a wideout. But, I mean, that's
he is fast.
He is fast.
Although his judgment is bad. The reason I say that.
Terrell Pryor, same time of philosophy.
But Terrell Pryor is 6'4". He's big.
Right.
But RG3, I remember
6'3" though.
He played in the Big 12, so he played at Oklahoma State. He said the loudest he ever played on the road was at Rentschler Field against UConn.
Wow.
So I have to feel that maybe his judgment may not be great.
Right.
So.
How about the kid from tragic story? The backup quarterback at Washington State committed suicide. That's amazing.
And it was funny. Nothing was funny about that. But what was interesting about it is that he was going to be most likely the starter.
He was the
next
man
year.
because Luke Falk graduating.
Right. Now there's a guy that had ridiculous statistics, but probably
where's he going?
He'll get picked in the 3rd or 4th round. Someone will take him because it's probably worth it. But that's awful. You wonder what goes through a kid's mind that he's.
They're all saying the right things. Not the right things, but they're all saying how they didn't see it coming and they had no indication that he started the game against Michigan State in the bowl game.
Right.
And every indication that he was a great kid and had everything going on. And then I haven't heard any more details on that though.
Right.
They kind of like haven't really said too much about it, but it's just terrible. How about brothers Alabama lost their offensive coordinator Brian
Daboll. Went to the Bills.
The Bills, yeah. I mean, that's
and they also lost their defensive coordinator to become the head coach of Tennessee. And somehow I'm not worried about Alabama.
No, I think they'll be all right.
But you know what was amazing? If you think about that in that championship game, which I know you guys talked about last week, in the last episode, was that if they don't make that switch and they keep Hurts in the game and Alabama goes on to win, Tua, which is what you refer to him and I will refer to him as well,
I'm going to try the
would have transferred to someplace else.
Right.
And now it's almost a guarantee that Tua will be the quarterback next year and Jalen Hurts is going to transfer someplace else, which is kind of amazing to think how just the decision at halftime in one game leads one kid to transfer schools and another kid to stay.
Well, I think another fascinating aspect of that would be Jacob Beeson on Georgia,
Right.
Who's Jake Fromm obviously going to be a starter now.
Right.
I heard he was transferred, but they didn't know where he was going. He was looking to get out of there, though.
Well,
so.
you know, I don't know if
What
you
you can understand, but
read that there's a proposal that may or may not go through. Right now, if you transfer, you can transfer from one school to another and sit out a year.
Okay.
And then you can also do the transfer if you're going to a grad school, not sit out.
Grad transfer.
But they're going to allow you to now transfer without sitting out a year. And I think that's a terrible.
That's a
rule.
proposal? Is that?
Oh yeah, they're talking about it.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a good
I agree.
idea. And you talk, well, the coach
Just
can leave
jumping
and he can
around.
go anytime he wants. Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's a professional. This is his job.
Yeah, it's different.
You're an employee is not the right word, but you are a scholarship athlete. The
agree.
rules should be somewhat.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean there aren't certain circumstances that things can go that can be okay.
Right.
But if that happens, I think you're going to see anarchy.
Chaos.
A kid will say, "Well, I don't play in the first game. I'm just
Yeah.
going to transfer to another
No.
school and I'll play right now."
And
They're in the middle of the season.
I agree. I don't.
So
think
I hope
that'll
that
go
doesn't
through. I don't
happen.
think
That's
it'll
not
happen.
good for the game.
Yeah. How about the top 3 high school players in the country committed to Duke this week in college basketball? Isn't that something?
It's unbelievable.
All 3 of them. Zion Williamson is supposed to be like another next LeBron.
I don't. I'm not a fan of YouTube and all that, but I watch the Zion Williamson dunk
Unbelievable,
video.
isn't it?
It's unbelievable.
It's amazing. It's, you know.
They're going to be ridiculously good.
Yeah.
And
How about Marvin Bagley? Should be a senior in high school this year.
Right.
And he's like one of the best, if not the best player in the country for them.
it's funny.
Amazing.
It's interesting with Duke. LeBron got his 30,000th point yesterday.
Congratulated himself on this on
Which
Instagram.
is a little bizarre. So, and it was funny. I actually think LeBron, in his own way, is underrated.
Absolutely.
You watch him play, he can score a million points, but he's a very unselfish star. I saw him play his very first professional game. It was in the Celtics used to have a summer league, and he was in high school. This was in July.
Wow.
So he had graduated high school in June. We were in this gym at UMass Lowell, and there are a lot of tall players in the NBA Summer League. I don't even know what it was. He walked by. He was enormous. And not that he was only 6'8". I had never seen a human being that was built like this, and he was 18.
Yeah.
And I said, this kid's going to be good. And we all knew he was going to be good.
Yeah.
He was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I saw they scored his 30,000 point, and I looked up what schools have had the most players score, in the top. Do you know that Duke doesn't have a player in the top 50 that have scored in the NBA?
Oh, the NBA.
Grant Hill is 94th. He's their leading scorer.
Wow.
Kentucky is Dan Issel would be the leading scorer, but he played a lot in the ABA.
In the ABA, right.
Which was incredible. Arizona's leading scorer is Jason Terry.
Wow.
It's just unbelievable. You think that these teams that have the great college players would have ridiculous great, but it's
But then you guys are obviously the one and done era. They come in, so that was another thing. And,
but
and a lot of these guys didn't start as freshmen or sophomores way back in the day too.
Right.
They didn't have the 4 years total.
No, but I mean, this is scoring in the NBA. Once they leave,
the
the
NBA.
great players, they go to the NBA.
Right.
And it's unbelievable that, how many good players does Duke have?
True.
They've had one top 10 pick after another, and now they're going to have all these guys.
Right.
But, you see Kentucky. I would have thought Kentucky would have, in my mind, I would have thought they would have.
I think that plays more to the longevity and the unbelievable talent of LeBron more than the other way around. Thinking about LeBron, though, I mean, you can argue all you want, but to me, he's the greatest player that's ever played the game. And you really can't compare eras. I don't care if it says Oscar Robertson, Lou Alcindor, Magic. You can't. It's impossible. It's like comparing Babe Ruth to Sammy Sosa or something. You can't compare. It's all different. But as far as LeBron goes, he's the only guy who can play all 5 positions, guard all guys. The guy never gets hurt. He never gets hurt. He played every game.
Well, he takes games off, but you're right, he doesn't get hurt.
He never,
Do you think he'll break Jabbar's record?
I think absolutely.
He's got like 30,000 in 21. I think
the youngest guy to reach that.
Yeah, but remember, he didn't play any college, which so a lot of guys like Kobe didn't. There's ahead of him.
Right.
And Jabbar's at 38,000.
Right.
And Jabbar played 4 years of college.
Right. It's true.
But he played till 42.
Right.
If LeBron plays till 42, he's going to go way past. It won't even be close.
Speaking of LeBron, what do you think's going to happen there? You think he's going to opt out there after this year? Is he gone?
It's funny. While I just said that I think he's underrated, and I do think he's underrated, he's very petty and petulant. He got the last coach fired.
Yeah.
He's kind of intimating that I might want to get rid of the coach we have now.
Yeah.
So I think it's all going to be, he clearly doesn't like Kevin Love. That's very obvious that he doesn't like him. It's certainly not working with Isaiah Thomas.
Now, the last thing with Love is that he had the flu, he was sick, and he took himself out of the game, right? And didn't show up the next day for practice or something. And the other guy, and they had a big meeting about it, and everybody was talking about it. And the guy's a double-double machine. What else you got there? I mean, you got all these.
They've done this in the past, had a slump in the middle of the year, but this is particularly bad. You know,
and I don't, Isaiah Thomas, how healthy is he or not healthy? I mean, it's going to take him another 2 months to get back to his game. If he gets back to his game.
Do you think Celtic fans are happy the way this worked out?
Well,
getting Kyrie Irving for him.
I heard one insider say the other day that Kyrie Irving wanted to get out of there before LeBron left. That was one thing. And another thing too, he was sick of having LeBron as his big brother, and being talked down to and not being a focus of the offense. So he wanted to get out of it before LeBron left, and then he's left with whatever's left there in Cleveland. I heard one guy say last night, "Oh, maybe LeBron will get traded." What? You know, first of all, he has no trade. Second of all, he got traded to get him. You have to trade your whole team, and then he's not going to a team that has nobody left. I mean, that's ridiculous.
But the only thing I would say about that, Joe, is there's a chance that if they did trade him and he's in the last year of his contract, you may not have to give up that much because the team that's trading for him has no guarantee to sign him.
But he has no trade though. So I say no.
I don't think he ever wants to get traded.
I think he goes to LA next year.
Which one, the Lakers or
the
Lakers?
Lakers? I think he goes to the Lakers. Yeah.
And just as a free agent, like he just
free
opts
agent,
out?
finish out maybe 3-4 more years, then he's done.
You don't think he'd go to the Knicks? He would want to save that franchise?
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be too much. I think he wants the lights of LA.
The Lakers have got better young players.
Yeah, young players.
And Porzingis is terrific, but that's really all they have. The Lakers have, they have Ball, they have Kuzma, they have.
Then you got James Dolan as an owner for the Knicks, which is another mess. But anyway, I think he'd rather play for the Buss family out there, and then Luke Walton. I think he's a tremendous coach. How about Lamar Ball calling out Luke Walton, say he lost the locker room and he doesn't know what he's doing? That's amazing.
I think, Joe, the 20-year-old Andy would have been thinking it was awesome and great, but as I've gotten older, I don't have much tolerance for stuff. I'm not a big fan of the father. I want the kid 100%. To just play and be, because he's not a good player. He's a very good player. He was a freshman that got drafted in the top 2 of the draft, and he's certainly a good player. I just wish I didn't know his father's name. I didn't know anything about him.
You see the clips of Fultz shooting a basketball? Did you see that? He's like this. It was unbelievable. I don't know what happened if he hurt his shoulder.
Well, I think he always shot very bizarrely.
It was amazing.
And that was the reason that there was some thought that maybe they wouldn't take him first.
Yeah, but he's like, I don't. What's his status right now? What's he doing? He's just kind of.
What's amazing about Philadelphia is they've been able to draft these guys, and they've been hurt. Embiid didn't play for 2 years. Simmons didn't play 1 year. Fultz isn't good. And they were able to be patient.
They're getting better.
And they're getting way better. Wouldn't you rather have buy stock in the Philadelphia 76ers than even Philadelphia, I mean, even L.A. Or some of these other teams? But boy, Philadelphia should be good for quite some time.
Absolutely. Then you got Boston. I haven't watched too much NBA this year. I'm kind of like when football's over, then I'll get into some basketball. But in the NBA, I guess the Celtics, I heard something yesterday, the Celtics have beaten the top 6 teams on the road and held them under 100 points or something. Some in that area. I'm not perfect on those stats, but I mean, so defensively, the Celtics are I think the best team in the league.
Well, they're fantastic, and it was funny. Obviously, Kyrie Irving got voted into the All-Star team, and this is more of a local thing. I thought most of the 2 UConn players could have been named All-Star reserves. Andre Drummond leads the league in rebounding, averages like 15 rebounds a game. And Kemba Walker could have been. Now, there are other guys that have statistics like him. The only thing when you talk about, when you say, well, he should make it, who shouldn't make it? And really the only one guy that shouldn't make it, in my opinion, or couldn't have made it, is Al Horford of the Celtics. And he's having a really nice year. The Celtics have the best record in the league. I have no problem with the team with the best record getting 2 players on the All-Star team, and a guy that's on the team that's in 9th with Detroit.
Let's transition to UConn now. Now, you keep score at the UConn men's basketball games and the football games. How'd you get that? And how do you like that?
It was It was just serendipity, I guess
Really?
is the word. I used to keep stats for my high school basketball
Okay.
team. When I came to UConn, I walked
Yeah, you
right
went to
in.
UConn?
I was a student. I walked into the office of the coach. Don Prono was the coach.
Okay.
I didn't know there was any. I said, "Can I do stats for you?" And he looked at me and he said, "I'm kind of not in charge of that."
You're like a nerd guy type thing?
Oh yeah. And he said, "Look, I don't really handle that," but he sent me to this this office, and I went.
Okay.
And I said, "Can I work the basketball games?" He said, "Look, it would be great, but this was the school you were starting. Can you work the football games?"
Wow.
Sure. He said, "Come. The first game is this week. Come at 10 o'clock." So I came at 10 o'clock, and I did tackles. I remember doing stats, keeping tackles on the football. And the game ended. And the person in charge said to me, "What time did you get here?" I said, "I don't know, I think like 10 o'clock. Why?" She said, "Well, because you get paid."
Wow.
I almost had a heart attack. So that was when I was 17.
That's great.
It's been 36 years. I haven't given it up. I don't like change very much.
That's fantastic. That's a lot of
it's
fun.
just been great. I mean, I wish this season in basketball and this season in football were a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's
what's the problem at UConn men's, you think?
well, unfortunately, there's probably a million things that we're having a problem this year. Mostly it's a numbers problem. We had 3 players that would have been here that transferred.
Okay.
Jackson, Enoch, and the other guy that went to Notre Dame. His name is big. Plus we had the 2 guys, Purvis and Brima, graduated.
Okay.
So we lost 5 guys off of last year's team. Larrier and Gilbert were hurt all of last year, didn't play. They're both coming back. Gilbert plays 1 game, gets hurt.
Okay.
So Jalen Adams, awesome player, kind of playing out of position, playing more of as he's a scoring point guard where he could be more of a scoring shooting guard. So everyone's just a little off.
How about the coaching aspect? What do you think of Ali as a coach? You have to say he's bad or good or not. But
well, it's unbelievable. I mean, our fans. We played the other night, the day against Villanova, who I would be very surprised.
Best team in the country, you think?
Again, who knows what's going to, they're the kind of team that wins championships.
Okay.
Even though they don't have a big low post player and they have some big guys, they just make the right pass.
Okay.
They shoot the ball.
They gain the right way.
They play a lot like Wichita State did.
Okay.
And I would think they're very similar. Villanova was not good.
Okay.
Excellent. But the Connecticut fans booed, and I'm not a big fan of booing college teams. You want to boo Bill Belichick, Todd Bowles,
professionals.
I have no problem with that. And maybe they were booing Kevin Ollie. It's hard to tell, But I find that very distasteful because the coaches are out there trying to recruit players to come.
Right.
You can't do anything in this world without people knowing 2 seconds later.
Right.
If you don't think that if UConn's recruiting a kid against Arizona or Kentucky or Kansas, their coach knows that they're going to say, you don't want to go to UConn.
Right.
Their fans boo them.
Right.
So I would hope that would stop. That would stop. They got this new coach that was the assistant at Washington, who's one of the top recruiters in the country. This coach, and I have a feeling he's going to be able to get some really good players. Okay. I hope that happens.
Okay.
It's not rocket science.
Right.
Coaches do a good job in college, believe me.
Right.
Players win.
Yeah.
And if you get players, and it would be nice if you like a 6'11", 260-pound kid. We'd like to have him. That'd be awesome.
We'll
we could use him.
Now, the Baseball Hall of Fame is coming up. Going through that. Now, before we talk about the Hall of Fame, the interesting about baseball is going through some speed-up rules. They want 20 seconds between pitches, which I think is a good thing. A game is like, these guys are on the mound, and they're looking, and then the catchers run out. It's really an
Did you go to any yard go?
No, I did not.
I did go to one game.
Okay.
And they did have a clock.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't think they enforced it.
Okay.
I think they were using it as some type of...
Maybe they didn't have to enforce it?
Well, I never saw them ever... The clock would turn to 0 and no one stopped it.
Right.
I think they were probably doing it to keep track, to do a study.
Right, study, right.
If it's 20 seconds, no one really cares in an intense game.
Yeah.
When, if it takes a while. But the constant... pitch, swing, Nomar Garcia-Parra, everything, walk out of the box, get back in.
It's your 20 seconds where the pitcher gets on the mound, and then the better steps out, and then go back and forth playing this cat and mouse game, and that can be tough. I think that, and you're thinking about limiting the trips to the mound, which I like, especially with the catchers. They're going back and forth. Last year, I watched all the Yankee games, and Sanchez would go out there almost like 2 times an inning for crying out loud, and he can't even speak English, so I don't know what the heck he's talking about.
Right, but what's funny about the Yankee games, and it's no different with the Red Sox, and I'm sure with the Mets and other big markets, there's so much, the commercials, they don't, the in between innings just take forever.
Yeah.
And it's not because the baseball needs to, it's because of the commercials.
How about the Astros signed Derek Cole? That I got the rotations: Cole,
Right.
Verlander, Dallas Keuchel, McCullers, and Charlie Morton, and they got Peacock and one other guy in the wings.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, they're good. They're like, whoa.
What's amazing about that team is, if you remember, 5 years ago, they weren't not good. They were awful.
Yep.
And while I think that's a great way to do it, the Red Sox could never do that. The Yankees could never do that.
Right.
The Mets could never do that. These big markets, they don't have the patience. The Astros were purposefully awful.
Right.
And look how good they are. Now, I'm a little concerned that it's still Houston, so it's not huge money.
Right.
Altuve's a young guy.
Right.
Springer's a young guy.
Right.
These guys, they can't pay them all. They can't. There's no way they're going to be able to pay these guys what they all deserve to pay.
Right.
So it's unlikely in another 2 or 3 years
Right.
they'll all be there because they can't. I mean,
Right.
I mean, so I have a feeling that they will break. But boy, if they're not good this year, although didn't you think the Cubs were going to be great this year and they weren't?
You thought they would be, after the year they had 2 years ago. But I mean, there's no guarantees on that. And guys get these contracts, they move on, and they don't have the year that they had before. Now you got all these free agents still out there.
Right.
Are they playing cat and mouse games? You got Moustakas, you got Hosmer, you got Kane off from the Royals.
Well, you know what's amazing? There's three of them that are with Scott Boras: Arrieta, Martinez, and Hosmer.
Still out there.
And it's unbelievable to think, Joe, we're almost at the Super Bowl.
Right.
Pitchers and catchers start in like 2.5 weeks.
Right.
It's amazing to me. I remember when the Yankees got that beautiful Christmas present from Derek Jeter, when he tied up Giancarlo Stanton, put him in a bow, and gave him to the Yankees, which was, look, I wish the Red Sox had done that.
Right.
I thought to myself, the Red Sox are now just going to go out and overpay for J.D. Martinez, who's a very good player, but...
What's the holdup? I know the holdup is the length of the contract.
Well,
I think, right?
would you be happy if someone offered you 5 years at $125 million, which is what the Red Sox did? He made $11 million last year.
Right.
He's 31, I think.
Right.
So he wants $30 million. I think the Red Sox would probably go to $30 million for 5 years, but he wants 7 years, $30 million. So that's $210 million. Now, when he's 31, he's probably going to be worth it. When he's 32, he's probably going to be worth it. Maybe 33.
Absolutely.
But the problem is, at the end of this contract, there's all this money that he's going to get paid that's not going to be worth it.
Look at somebody. Look at Albert Pujols. A guy's feet, he can't run down to first base anymore. So he's basically a DH. Then you've got, I think with the Red Sox, they got Betts, Benintendi, and JPP Bradley out there. Now, I think they get rid of one of those. They got to get rid of one of those guys. I would get rid of Bradley and move Betts to center field and put Martinez to right. And I think that would help out. Maybe for Bradley, what do you get from him? I don't know. But they need some power. They were
offered Puig for Jackie Bradley, and they turned it down.
Okay, he did. He's a nut job, though.
Well, I think the problem with Puig is that he's probably a lot older than we think that he is.
That's true.
And Bradley's a young guy.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
I think Puig, he get buried in Boston, though, with the fans and stuff. He's just not.
Someone said to me, do you think the Red Sox should give J.D. Martinez this $30 million? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I love the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I was so happy when they won the World Series in 04 and 07. I thought it was fantastic.
Right.
I watch the games on TV. If they want to go out and spend ridiculous money, and the ticket price goes up, and the water costs more money, and the hot dogs, it doesn't affect me. I don't care. So it doesn't bother me. Like when you're a Yankee fan, you probably want them to go out and sign Darvish and go over the luxury tax, because do you care? Like,
I don't want Darvish at all.
You don't think he would help them with that team?
Not in one bit.
Really? You're happy with the pitching they have?
Absolutely. I go with my young guys. I go with Chance Adams, Justice Suffield. They've got this guy in the minors. I saw on Yankee Asshole last week. Domenico Acevedo, 6'7", 250, 21-year-old. That throws 103.
Starting pitcher? Wow.
The starting pitcher in the minors. And he had he averaged 9.8 strikeouts per 9 innings in the minors. Throws 103. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be there next year or two, but I mean, they've got some people in place. Let the young guys throw.
So you don't even want like an Alex Cobb at $12 million?
Absolutely not.
And you were happy to get CC back at $11 million?
Yeah, and I would go with, I want Todd Frazier back myself.
Really?
I mean, first of all, the guy's tremendous defensively. Great clubhouse guy. And he's got some pop. He's, 20, 25
and you play him at third base?
Play him at third base. Bat him ninth. We're good.
So Torres, you don't think
and
I would
put Torres at second with Torreyes at second, and you got Tyler Wade,
Right.
and there's enough to go around. Let those guys play. Because you don't know what I think Torreyes. I don't think can hold up under a full season. He's
Do
a
you
utility
feel
player.
like the Yankees are all just lying in wait to sign Machado next year?
Oh, I hope not too.
So you don't want him either?
I don't want him either.
Are you
no.
just anti-free agent? Are you happy with Stanton? Because I think you're not in. I think you're in the minority as Yankee fans.
I think they overpay these guys. I mean, how good do you need to be? I mean, how many guys do you need? I think you need guys that play roles a little bit more. You don't need. They got 7 All-Stars starting on the lineup as it is. You want 8 or 9?
What was wrong with you? You're like a clear-thinking Yankee fan. That's not normal. Most Yankee people just spend the money. I don't go to the games.
I don't think Machado's a great guy either. I think he has some.
Maybe not. But he's certainly a
personality
good
things.
player.
But Frazier is a guy that like a Scott. Brocious type thing. I think you need guys like that.
Right.
That make.
You think their pitching is good enough this year?
I think
because
so,
they probably have the best hitting in the league.
I mean, yeah, you've got Tanaka, you've got and you got Sonny Gray, and you've got who else? They got Jordan Montgomery, and they have.
Well, the problem is those guys, a lot of them have been hurt. That's the problem.
And also there was talk of them taking Chad. Was it Chad Green? The
reliever Chad Green.
Yeah, make him a starter. And he has gas. I mean, either you do or you don't. They don't want to do a job at Chamberlain on him.
Right.
Either you do or you don't, and he's another potential. But they got this chance. Sanders was supposed to be great. And Justin Suffield is a small guy, though. He's like 5'10". That doesn't mean anything. But they've got some. Why have it minor leagues if you're not going to bring these guys and give them a shot? These young guys can pitch.
Right.
Give it. And so they're 4th or 5th starter. So what? Sonny Gray is decent. I mean.
I know the Yankees have a pretty good. Farm system. They have traded a fair amount because they traded for Sonny Gray. They traded Stanton, but they didn't have to give up a crazy amount to get Stanton.
Right.
That's what makes Red Sox / every other team fans upset. It's not that they got Stanton. Stanton makes crazy money, but that they didn't give up.
Nothing.
The jewels of the Yankee farm system,
now you got a guy
which is what you would have thought.
Yeah, now you got Aroldis Chapman. I mean, is he worth what does he make? $18 million to be closer? That there could be 2 weeks he doesn't even get a game. I mean, that's money that I wouldn't spend on guys like that.
You're not normal. I'm telling you. Most fans say, I just want to spend the money. I don't care. That's great.
I like more like good guys playing.
Right.
I like that. I mean, I watched the Red Sox 2 years ago when the Yankees weren't on and I like that team. I like Big Poppy. They were fun to watch. They played hard all the time.
When the Jeter teams were starting to get good, and when you're a Red Sox, they hadn't won the World Series at that point. And someone said, "Well, you must hate the Yankees." How do I hate Jeter?
Right.
Paul O'Neill's the hardest working player.
Played the game
Tino
right
Martinez, Posada, Andy Pettit. I wasn't a fan of Pettit because I don't believe he only took steroids, whatever. But he was a good pitcher.
Right.
But those were great guys. How could you root against them? They were good.
Exactly.
The only guy you could root against was A-Rod.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you, so you see A-Rod got hired to now do Sunday Night Baseball. Is that something that even registers in your mind? Like,
I thought from a while ago, I thought when Girardi got fired, he would take Boone's place, almost like a Boone for Girardi trade in the booth. That's what I thought was going, because he had done some play-by-play, some color before. And A-Rod, did you see him on FS1?
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
He is. He's got an unbelievable presence. But what I'm amazed is that he's going to be working for ESPN doing these Sunday night games, but he's still going to be working for Fox. And it's weird that they're allowing him to do that. The guy that's going to do the play-by-play, Matt Vasgersian, the first game I ever worked for TV.
What happened to the other guy?
I guess Dan Shulman's not doing it anymore.
Yeah, he was good too.
And Boone is now the Yankee manager. So. Which is interesting, but it's funny to think that Matt Vasgersian. I worked a baseball game with him at Yale Field, and he was one of the nicest guys. So I'm happy that he got the job.
Just to digress one minute, how about Tony Romo? I thought he was phenomenal on the broadcast. I thought he was funny, bright, insightful. He knew plays before they happened. I thought he was fantastic.
It was kind of a joke how he would just predict what happened.
He was amazing.
And then when you'd watch him, he was always right.
He was always right.
You'll see Tom Green did that last night.
Maybe a little chatty, but he was
great. I don't really watch games to listen to an announcer or not. But he adds a lot. I completely agree with all that. So I totally agree with that.
But and the Mets are staying pat with they haven't done anything. David Wright, they're still waiting on him. I don't know if he's rehabbing.
Is that still a possibility?
It's still a possibility.
He hasn't played in a long time.
Yeah, I guess he's still holding hope that he can come back and play. Who knows with that? I don't know how much they're counting on him. They got Adrian Gonzalez to play first. So,
He wasn't great with the Red Sox 8 years ago. I can't imagine to be that good.
He says he wants to mentor Dominic Smith. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
But
Hey, look, I always like when the Mets are good
Yeah.
because it makes the Yankee fans get angsty.
I mean, it's hard to compete with the Yankees in that
Right.
market.
And they're good. The Yankees
And
are good.
I like it when the Red Sox are good too, because I love that rivalry.
Right.
I really do. I don't hate the Red Sox just like you don't hate the Yankees.
Right.
But it's it's always fun to watch. And the old days when they used to go at it was fantastic.
Right.
That was must watch TV. It was fantastic.
So I want to give you my Super Bowl preview, my prediction.
Oh yeah, we got to pick real quick.
Guarantee winner, Patriots 24-16.
Okay. I think Patriots win 34-28.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
I
high
agree.
scoring.
High scoring. I think there'll be a lot of points in that game. I really
That's
do.
awesome. It should be a great game.
Yeah,
It
should be
always
good.
is.
Andy did a great job.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate
That was
being
awesome.
here.
Thank you.